This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the November 20th, 2024 South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I will call this meeting to order. We have all commissioners present this evening except for Commissioner Johns, who is absent. This time I would ask you to all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to announce that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted to the Township website for public access. At this time, I'll ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review our public virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the board commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone. You'll have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to announce the Board of Commissioners did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting to discuss legal and personnel matters. Agenda item 4 is courtesy of the floor, opportunity for any member of the public to comment on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone present this evening who would like to address the board? Is there anyone online who'd like to make a comment? Hearing and seeing none, I'll move on to our meeting minutes. Agenda item 5. The Board of Commissioners November 6, 2024 meeting minutes were distributed in advance. Are there any comments or questions?
No.
I need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to agenda item 6, presentation. 6A, we have recognition of Jeffrey Kelly, South Whitehall Township Emergency Management Coordinator, recipient of the Municipal Emergency Management Award for Excellence by the members and officers of the Keystone Emergency Management Association 2024. Jeff, if you'd please come up to the podium.
I brought a copy along so you can see it does exist.
Very nice. I do have a proclamation to read, and then I'll open it to the floor for the commissioners if they have any comments to share this evening. I have a Distinguished Service Award presented to Jeffrey Kelly, whereas the Board of Commissioners recognizes you as South Whitehall Township Emergency Management Coordinator as recipient of the Municipal Emergency Management Award for Excellence by the members and officers of the Keystone Emergency Management Association 2024. Whereas we honor you for your distinguished career of service as Emergency Management Coordinator to the community of South Whitehall Township, which began on December 18th of 2002. Your unwavering dedication to public safety, disaster preparedness, and protecting the lives of those who work and live in South Whitehall is second to none. Your appointment as Emergency Management Coordinator has been one of exemplary commitment and outstanding leadership as you have served our township over the last 22 years. It is with great pride and appreciation that this board presents you with this Distinguished Service Award as our token of gratitude. It's been an honor and privilege to work with you throughout the years, and we look forward to many more doing so, and we are deeply grateful for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'd didn't know if any of the commissioners had any comments.
I just want to say, when it said second to none, being an emergency service for a few years, everybody in the county looks to you when something bad happens because you always have an answer, and it's usually the correct one, or you know where to go to get the answer and get the stuff they need to solve their problems across the whole county. So kudos to you, Jeff. It is well deserved and overdue.
Thank you.
I would just add on to what Chris said, Jeff. You've done an incredible job here in South Whitehall, but your reputation throughout the county, throughout the region, everybody knows you, everybody trusts you, everybody respects you, and what you've been able to do for emergency services throughout our region is incredible. And thank you for all you do, truly.
And Jeff, I wanted to thank you too. We're so grateful to you for what you do. You have such a thoughtful, dedicated, commitment-minded leadership. And because of you, we are a safer and more well-prepared township, a better prepared community. Thank you for all you've done. Your work isn't always up front. It's often behind the scenes, but you're thinking about us every day when we're living our busy lives and not thinking about the unthinkable. You are, and you have that plan. So thank you so much for your service to our community.
All very well said from the board. Thank you. And I will add, this is a volunteer position with a very small stipend. And we all know that you don't do this for the money or the recognition, but you have assembled a team of volunteers. And when there is an incident, you are the quiet workers who go out and assist when there are people in need, when there's either a natural disaster or whatever else. So I thank you for your dedication. I've seen firsthand the work that you do. I do serve on emergency management with you, and it's incredible the work that you and all of the team members do. So please express our gratitude to them as well.
Thank you.
Is there anyone online, Dave, to comment? I thought there was someone.
Tanya, can you unmute? Please.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Could you give your name and address, please?
Sure. My name is Tanya Hook. I'm the director for Lehigh County Emergency Services. The address is 640 West Hamilton Street in Allentown.
Thank you. Floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. It was my honor and privilege to recommend Jeffrey Kelly for this award. I've had the pleasure of working with him since the early 2000s when he first started, and I first started with Lehigh County. He's been an exemplary member of the emergency management field, and he's always gone above and beyond. He's willing to help anyone who's in need, willing to answer the call in the middle of the night when we don't have an answer for something, always willing to take others underneath his wings and kind of mentor them. So I'm very thankful to have him as a friend and a colleague in emergency management. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Tanya. We appreciate that. At this time, I'm sorry, did you have any comments you'd like to make, Jeff?
Well, it's only 7 pages long, but yep, thank you. Yes, I just want to thank the entire Board of Commissioners, Tom and Herb, for honoring me, my achievement tonight. Recognition is not necessary, but is always appreciated. And my Emergency Management Award of Excellence, I don't do it on my own. I have an amazing amount of people that are always there. They're willing to help me, whether it's Tom or Herb or Mike or Matt, Public Works, Interim Chief Brown and his staff, the 4 fire chiefs, Ricardo, Andrews, Skip, Barry, and the volunteer fire departments. And all the time, no matter what, I always make a phone call to John France. He is my right hand, and I don't think he's ever told me no. Just a few weeks ago, we had a fire in Whitehall. I said, hey, John, can you go over to the jock, pick up the trailer, and start taking stuff over there? I think he made it to the jock before I did, and Herb did. Herb was right there behind him. So no matter what, John is always here, and my entire staff of volunteers in emergency management. They're always willing to help. And I couldn't do it without our partners, Citronia Ambulance, Lehigh County Emergency Management, Parkland School District, always a key player. Lehigh Valley and St. Luke's Health Network are always. But in closing, I would just like to thank the Board of Commissioners for the recognition, the Keystone Emergency Management Association, and Tanya Ardo at the Cat of the Bag. She nominated me. And I couldn't forget one last thing, my wife, Diane, who puts up with all the late night meetings, phone calls, and me asking her to type a email or a letter for me, or coming to the EOC to help us all type. So, but thank you all for this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a quick photo.
Smile. Great, thank you.
And item 6B, we have our Fire Department South Whitehall Township Fire Safety and Prevention Programming Report. I'll ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present this agenda item.
Thank you. So throughout the month of October, the volunteer fire departments of South Whitehall Township conducted fire safety and prevention educational programming, spearheaded by Woodlawn Fire Department. And the metrics for the program are provided as follows. There was 26 members of the South Whitehall Township fire departments. They participated for a combined total of 201.5 hours volunteered. 16 members from Woodlawn, 4 members from Greenwalds, and 6 members from Citronia. So this program touched the lives of 1,583 children, so pre-K through 5th grade, 324 adults, including teachers, staff, and congregants. There were 75 classes, so for all focusing around fire safety and prevention, and encompassed a total of 1,375 minutes, and there were 8 different locations. So the report, and they actually conducted a survey, and the metrics showed that the program was extremely well organized. If you were grading on a scale, of A, B, or C, they clearly you received scores of A+ across the board. And some of the comments indicated that the information for the children was age appropriate and covered important topics like smoke detectors and having a family plan for emergency situations. And they indicated that the presentations were useful and well run and very, very helpful for the children, for the households, for the families. So with that, just wanted to extend our appreciation as the township for this important prevention, for holding these classes and for volunteering your time and making sure that the township residents received the benefit of having these classes. So thank you to everyone who participated.
I just want to echo Tom, very well said, and thank you for putting this report together for all of us. Reading the survey comments from the different participants was actually very interesting, and it's a very important service that you're providing for our youth on the importance of fire safety. So I wanted to personally thank you all, each and every member, for your part in this. We appreciate you very much. Did the board have any other comments?
I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to thank you all. This was a really wonderful program. Unfortunately, I was not able to do it this year, but I did attend last year while you were at Citronia. Yeah, Citronia. I was at Citronia. And what really touched me most of all is just showing that here you are, you're a person, you're there to help. You had all this gear, all this apparatus, the oxygen, the sound of the breathing, and you explained it as you were getting dressed. And that's really scary for our youth, for these young children. So seeing that underneath all this scary gear, someone who is there to help. And honestly, I feel like you touch so many of our youth, and this is our future. And I believe you have gotten quite a few recruits. So thank you so much for such a thoughtful and sensitive program.
Yeah, you guys did an awesome job, right? There's going out, taking out time out of your day to go teach kids and staff and removing some of the stigma of the scariness of the fireman in his gear. Just that interaction with the public and the kids goes a long way. And most importantly, you did it because you love to do it and not that you were paid to do it. And people need to understand that the commitment you guys make to the fire service is not for a paycheck. It's for the love of what you do and the service you provide. So thank you.
Just echo all the comments that have been made. Really, really a wonderful job. What you do with these programs really does have an impact on each kid. I still vividly remember many years ago when I was in elementary school, Woodlawn and Citronia and Greenewald's coming to my school and doing these presentations. So it really has an impact. And one of the best things about this community is we really love and respect our volunteer firefighters, and the fact that these programs help to extend that to the next generation, it's just wonderful. So thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you all for being here tonight. We would like to attempt to take a photograph with all of you. So if you would all make your way here in front of the dais, we'll assemble with you.
Yeah, I think so. You're up front. Okay. That's right. Down in front. Stand tall. Hey, smile. Thank you. I think I got it. How's it? As good as it gets.
That could give you more room.
Are we staying away?
Yeah. Moving on to agenda item 6C, we have the second reading of the 2025 proposed budget. I'll ask our Director of Finance, Tricia Dicker, to please present.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. For the second reading, I think tonight I'll just stick with providing you with the bottom line numbers and any other information that I think is important to restate. You all have the documents that were provided. At the end, when we get through all the funds, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. For the general fund, the 2025 revenue projection is $20,881,474.37. Expenses being projected at $21,559,923.37, combined with the use of $678,449 in the 2024 cash carry forward for the scanning project. That brings us to a balanced budget with no surplus and no deficit. The general fund budget being presented holds the line on real estate taxes, so there's no proposed real estate tax increase for our residents. The general fund cash carry forward is estimated to be $4,814,988.40. For the fire fund, the 2025 revenue projection is $1,360,000. The expenses are being projected at $1,160,000, and the $200,000 surplus will be transferred to the fire apparatus account. Just to mention, on 11/6, the day that we did the reading of the first proposed budget, The board had approved 3 capital projects for the fire stations. Those 3 projects totaled $137,080. And those approved projects changed the 2024 cash carry forward number from the 816,374.21 that we gave you on 11/6 to 679,294.21. But it's just important to note that the 2024 cash carry forward for the fire fund had no impact on the revenues and expenses as presented to you all for the 2025 budget. The water fund, the 2024 cash carry forward being forecasted is $3,220,000, $113.65. The 2025 revenue projection is $13,042,704.60, and the expenses are being projected at $10,836,488.14. That leaves us with a surplus of $2,206,216.46. Keep in mind, LCA is raising the water rates to the township by 4.95% in 2025, but at this time, there's no rate increase being proposed to be passed on to South Whitehall Township residents. For the sewer fund, the 2024 cash carry forward being forecasted is $1,952,840.46. The 2025 revenue projection is $3,895,914. Expenses at $3,895,914, leaving us with no surplus, no deficit. LCA is also raising the sewer rates by 4.7%, consistent with the sewer rate study that was conducted in 2024. The township is proposing a 4% increase on the sewer charges being passed on to South Whitehall Township residents. For the refuse fund, the 2024 cash carry forward being forecasted is $323,101.53. The 2025 revenues coming in at $5,095,440. Expenses being projected at $4,651,046.88, leaving us with a surplus of $444,393.12. And again, there's no additional refuse rate increase being passed on to township residents. The State Highway Aid Fund, the 2025 revenue projection is $718,599.04. For expenses, $676,917. That leaves us with a surplus of $41,682.04. And the 2024 forecasted cash carry forward for state highway aid is $435,452.23. For open space, the 2025 revenue projection is $45,635.75. Expenses are being projected at $214,034. That leaves us with a deficit of $168,398.25. That deficit will be offset entirely by the forecasted 2024 cash carry forward, which is being projected to be $442,741.40. For ARPA, there is $1,566,540.71 remaining in ARPA funds. Keep in mind, $1 million of that has been encumbered already for the purchase of a new aerial truck, a truck that serves the whole township. And what's left to be encumbered in ARPA funds will be presented to you later this evening by the police department. For debt service, our 2025 debt payment will be $1,057,500, of which $685,000 is the principal, $372,000 is the interest. That payment will be split between water and general. The water portion will be $187,104. and the general portion will be $870,396. For capital, there were $2,388,909 worth of capital projects presented to you all. If approved, those capital projects will be funded by using the following sources: $285,966 in grant revenue, $10,000 in donations for the purchase of a canine, $214,034 as an interfund transfer from open space, $849,969.72 as an interfund transfer from the general fund, and then $1,029,939.28 as what we expect to be the 2024 cash carry forward in the capital fund. Those are all of the funds presented in the second reading, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, Tricia. Thank you. Does the board have any comments or questions? I realize this is the second time where we've heard this publicly. No.
My only question is, since our first reading on the 6th, has the township received any public comment or questions regarding the budget?
In the finance department, we have not. I don't know if the executive office has.
We have not either.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? I just want to thank you, Tricia, and your entire team for working through the budget process with us. You made it very transparent. It was very understandable, the way that you laid out the budget for our workshop, and then now for the first and second readings. Debt of gratitude for all the work that you and your team have done.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And for the benefit of the public, the proposed budget is posted to the township website. We invite you to please review it. It gives you a nice snapshot into the priorities of the township next year.
And if you're not a fan of online looking, we do have a public inspection copy available in the reception area of the campus building.
Very good. Thank you, Tricia. But don't go anywhere. Next agenda item is the review of the October 2024 year-to-date financials. Yeah. Okay, so wrong document. Let me find where that one is. Okay, so Kristen prepared the summary of the October 2024 financials. So we'll just go through it briefly. You can see the numbers and the percentages. There's really nothing jumping out at us, either from a revenue side or even from an expenditure side. Obviously, as we consider what those cash carry forward numbers are likely to be, we're already taking into consideration where we think we're coming under in expenses and where we think we might be going over in revenues. So the revenues for the general fund, you can see we're just about there, right? So, there's going to be a final push for some of the general fund taxes, business privilege tax, real estate tax. That due date, looms come December 31st. So we're really going to see the gap close on those general fund revenues over the course of the next 2 months. And then expenses, you can see, obviously, we're coming in well under what was expected for spend on the year 2024. Fire tax revenue did really well, considering there is also that little push at the end of the year where we're going to see that number get a little healthier. But we've already hit the revenue projection there, and the expenses are well under. Again, those expenses coming in well under are what then feeds that cash carry forward that we talked about during the second and first reading. Water fund, nothing really to report there. Revenues are pretty much on target. Expenses coming a little under. That could be because some projects just haven't been paid out or invoiced yet. Plus, we get those bills when we get them from LCA. So it could also be a timing issue on what's been dispersed so far. Sewer, again, nothing really of any concern there. Refuse, you can see the revenue climbing over 100%. So just to keep in mind when we talk about refuse revenue,
We always know that we're going to end with a surplus those first 2 years, maybe even those first 3 years. And the surplus from those early years are designed to prevent us from having to do a rate increase in the second half of that contract. So, when this was done, we decided one rate over the course of 5. So we're not coming back to you every year requesting another increase. So those are coming in just where we would expect them. Capital, again, I'm going to guess that there are still some capital projects that are in the works that we just have not paid out yet. And state highway aid, we've talked about this, I think, for 3 months or for probably a few months now, that we hit that number when we got that payment in. So with that said, that is the snapshot of the October 2024 financials. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And if I don't have the answer, I will get you the answer.
Well, again, thank you to you and to Kristen for preparing and presenting. It's always good to see a little snapshot of where we are each month. So thank you for that. Board, have any comments or questions? Any public comment? Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
We have no ordinances this evening. We move on to agenda item 8, resolutions. 8A, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing the settlement of certain litigation involving the township. And our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, if you'd please present.
Thank you. I will be reading this resolution into the record. Whereas the township's liability police practices liability insurer for the period of March 26, 2021 to March 26, 2022, Greenwich Insurance Company has, consistent with the terms of the insurance policy, requested the township's consent to resolve and settle the litigation commencement by Robert Parker as set forth in Parker versus South Whitehall Township et al. United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, civil action number 24-CV00518. And whereas said settlement shall result in the full and complete and total release of all claims asserted against the township as set forth in a written settlement agreement approved by the litigation counsel that was selected and approved by Greenwich Insurance Company for this legal matter. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township hereby adopts the following. All whereas clauses are incorporated herein as though more fully set forth at length. And the Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Township Manager to settle the Parker versus South Whitehall Township et al. United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, civil action number 24-CV-00518 litigation, and authorizes any administrative actions to settle the litigation on behalf of South Whitehall Township, including but not limited to the execution of any required documents or the remittance of any financial remuneration or any other administrative action specifically required by the written settlement agreement. And further resolve that all resolutions or parts of resolutions inconsistent with the resolution are hereby repealed and superseded by this resolution duly adopted this 20th day of November 2024 by a majority of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, at a duly advertised meeting of the Board of Commissioners of which a quorum was present. As part of this resolution, the Board of Commissioners has directed that the President or Vice President, in the absence of the President, execute this resolution on behalf of the Board.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any board comments or questions? Or any public comment? Mine. Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution authorizing the settlement of certain litigation involving the township?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And item 8B, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, adopting the 2024 Hazard Mitigation Plan as the official hazard mitigation plan of the Township of South Whitehall. And Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. I just want to note I'm reading a memorandum prepared by Fire Marshal John France, who is in attendance this evening. Just want to make sure for the record.
Good, thank you.
So the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, requires that municipalities have an approved and adopted hazard mitigation plan in order to be eligible for certain types of non-emergency disaster assistance, including funding for mitigation projects. Lehigh and Northampton County Emergency Management Offices have developed a hazard mitigation plan for both counties, including municipality-specific plan annexes. The county's contract with the vendor to work with their municipalities to complete this plan through meetings and workshops. A final hazard mitigation plan is then adopted by each individual municipality. Township emergency management staff have participated in the process of developing a 2024 Lehigh Valley Hazard Mitigation Plan, and specifically the South Whitehall Township Annex of the plan. This 2024 plan replaces a plan developed and adopted in 2018. A final version of the 2024 Lehigh Valley Hazard Mitigation Plan has been approved by both FEMA and the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency. The plan is ready for adoption by the individual municipalities. A copy of the 2024 Lehigh Valley Hazard Mitigation Plan and the South Whitehall Township Annex was included in the packets for this evening's meeting. So action requested is requested that the Board of Commissioners approve the resolution before you this evening to adopt the 2024 Lehigh Valley Hazard Mitigation Plan, including the South Whitehall Township Annex to the plan. So the resolution has been developed for the board to approve for the adoption of the plan. And by adopting the plan and annex, the township will be eligible for potential hazard mitigation funding. I would like to note that John France did an excellent job in compiling all this information, updating the information as required, as well as he noted in his memorandum, emergency management personnel. So thank you for everyone who was involved in this voluminous project.
Very well said, Tom. Thank you for presenting. Thank you again to our Fire Marshal, John France, and for any other township staff and emergency management involved in the preparation and presenting of this plan to us. It'll be comforting to our community to know that our township staff is always working to have a plan to minimize the effects of natural hazards to our communities. We thank you all for your proactive work in this. The board have any comments or questions?
Do either of you want to make any comments or give a little quick overview for the residents? Or
for the sake of those not here, John France, Fire Marshal with the Township. The hazard mitigation plan, I believe, as you saw, countywide is over 400 pages long. It addresses all the hazards that we expect to find in both Lehigh and Northampton County. The emergency management officials in both counties have done an excellent job. I've been involved in this since 2017. They have done an excellent job with spearheading this, consolidating this, and making it actually a lot less painful process than it had been in the past. And it's a lot more useful and user-friendly for us and gets us, again, to the end result. Not just that we're eligible for funding, but that we are also prepared for disasters. We, through Lehigh County, have worked with them and emergency management over the years. This plan is actually, our annex is updated every year for new things that emerge. For instance, after the last plan in 2018, we happened to have a pretty bad pandemic. That really wasn't on the radar so much. So it's a very good process, and very happy with the document.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your work, John.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this plan? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to adopt said resolution adopting the 2024 Hazard Mitigation Plan as the official hazard mitigation plan of South Whitehall Township.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Agenda item 8C, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township to submit an application to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development 2024 Pennsylvania Gaming Local Share Account Statewide Grant Program to provide funding to be used for radio replacements for the volunteer fire departments of South Whitehall Township as a result of the Lehigh County P25 digital radio system upgrade. Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. Resolution 2024-13 of the Lehigh County Board of Commissioners authorized a professional service contract with Tactical Public Safety Incorporated to develop and install a turnkey large-scale digital P25 trunked radios networks system for the replacement of existing fixed network and subscriber equipment currently being used by Lehigh County as a communication system to dispatch police, fire, emergency, medical, and other services. As a result of this digital communications upgrade, the 3 volunteer fire departments located in South Whitehall Township, Sotronia Fire Company, Greenwald's Fire Company and Woodlawn Fire Company must now upgrade their radio equipment to become compatible with the Lehigh County 911 system. So a P25 radio system is tightly controlled, and only those subscriber devices granted access by the county will be able to operate on the network. The Lehigh County P25 radio network has been designed to provide 95% coverage reliability from a portable radio worn on the user's hip with a device-mounted half-wave antenna transmitting at 3 watts. A set of specifications have been developed to all and provided to all municipalities and first responders, and these must be followed in order for the equipment to communicate with the P25 radio system. However, it is important to note that the use of a specific vendor is not required, provided that the specifications are followed. So each of the 3 volunteer fire departments have either provided updated price quotations or estimates utilizing the Lehigh County current contract pricing. So the current estimated cost of this project in total is for Citronia Fire Company, $232,321.32. Greenwald's Fire Company, $271,354.70. And Woodlawn Fire Department, $216,434.95 for a total of $720,110.97. So therefore, it's recommended to submit a grant application to the Pennsylvania Gaming Local Share Account statewide program to help offset the amount of this project. So it's recommended to submit the grant application in the amount of $432,066.58, which is roughly 60% of the total cost. So local matching funds are not required, but they will demonstrate a sufficient level of local municipal support towards the important project. Of course, it's noted that we're submitting an application. Grant funding is not guaranteed.
Very good, Tom. Thank you for presenting, and also thank you for proposing that we do seek grant assistance for this very important upgrade. I think it's a very wise move. Is there any board comment on this? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item 8D, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, adopting a towing fee schedule for 2024. If you please present.
Thank you. So during the Wednesday, November 6th, 2024 Board of Commissioners regular public meeting, the governing body adopted ordinance number 1091, which accomplished the following. So it allows the township manager to execute towing contracts with relevant towing entities, confirms the fact that the Board of Commissioners will establish the fees for towing services within an approved fee schedule of the township, which fee schedule is approved via resolution, and incorporates specific specifications and requirements that are consistent with past practices and requirements of the township, and it establishes requirements for insurance and minimum qualifications of the towing entities. So now that the ordinance is officially adopted, the township is required to adopt the aforementioned towing fee schedule. That will be in effect for the remainder of 2024. There are no proposed changes to the fees that are currently in effect by contract for 2024. It's also important to note that the township will need to adopt a towing fee schedule for 2025, which would be on the first agenda of 2025 in January. So I'd seek a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any board comments? Any public comment? I need a motion to adopt said resolution.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item 8E, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Township of South Whitehall, Lehigh County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, approving a South Whitehall Township right-of-way encroachment at 2905 West Highland Street, Lehigh County, parcel identification number 54876-113-1238-1. Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. So an application to install a fence at the location of 2905 West Highland Street has been submitted for the review of the township. Upon review, the proposed fence, which will be installed along the east side of the property along 29th Street, is situated in township right-of-way. The right-of-way for 29th Street is a total of 60 feet. The right-of-way at this location is 17 feet behind the curb on both sides of 29th Street. The existing fence to be replaced is located 13 feet behind the east curb line on 29th Street. The proposed fence does not encroach on any existing township utilities, including water, sewer, or storm, as confirmed in the PA1 call exhibit, which was included in tonight's packets. It is also noted that there were 3 types of existing fence materials already present at this location, and the applicant proposes to replace portions totaling 42 linear feet of the existing fence with a 6-foot-high aluminum fence. A right-of-way permit is required to be obtained by the applicant to allow for the installation of the fence to occur. However, a fence is not able to be permitted in the township right-of-way. Noting that there's existing fence in the location and the significant setback from the curb line, township personnel are recommending that the applicant execute a declaration of indemnification obligations and covenant running with the land to allow for a fence to be installed at the specific location, given the unique circumstances as identified this evening. The declaration would be drafted by the Director of Legal Affairs, Jennifer Aldifer, as authorized in the enclosed resolution. This declaration of indemnification obligations and covenant running with the land will provide for relevant reservations, restrictions, and requirements pertaining to the encroachment of the fence into the township right-of-way. So I'd take a motion to approve the resolution as submitted.
Thank you, Tom. Are there any commissioner comments, questions?
Is the applicant here?
Is the applicant present?
Hello, commissioners.
Hi.
We can hear
Hi,
you.
folks. Hi, everyone. This is actually Mike Schlossberg, who's the applicant. Hi, commissioners. I apologize for not being there in person. I'm actually traveling for work.
Good evening. Thank you for attending virtually.
Glad to be able to do so. Happy to answer any questions, but I appreciate the township's, the staff's work on this one. It's interesting to be on this side of the microphone.
So you heard the motion. You're okay with everything that?
I absolutely, and I appreciate the township's work and responsiveness. This is no problem on my end.
Okay, thank you.
My only question, if at some point in the future the township did need to access or utilize this portion of right-of-way, does the township have the authority to do so?
Yes, this declaration provides specifically for that reservation.
Very good.
Oh, and this is also a covenant that runs with the land, so any future owner would be bound by this as well. Is that what that means?
Correct. It would be recorded at the Lehigh County Courthouse and be a permanent public record.
Okay, great. And thank you to the applicant for beautifying the property. I realized when I did a drive-by, which I usually do when I need to look at things to make a decision on them, there were 3 different types of fences, and so thank you very much.
It's a strange one. I'm glad we're finally taking care of it.
Thank you. If there are no other commissioner comments, is there any public comment? Anyone online with a public comment on this matter? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Good luck with your project.
I need more luck with more than that, commissioners. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Moving on to agenda item 9A, motions. We have a motion to approve the continuation of a memorandum of understanding between South Whitehall Township and the South Whitehall Township Police Department Bargaining Unit. I'll ask Township Manager Tom Petrucci to please present.
Thank you. So during the November 1st, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting, the governing body approved a memorandum of understanding dated November 17th, 2023, which it was approved November 1st and then signed November 17th. But it provided for a process by which to credit newly appointed entry-level patrol officers with eligible previous police service. This memorandum of understanding expires on December 31st, 2024. If approved, the memorandum of understanding before you this evening would expire on December 31st, 2026. So the recommendation of Township Manager, the Township Management, and also speaking with the bargaining unit, is to align the expiration of this MOU with the expiration of the collective bargaining unit for the police service, which also expires on December 31st, 2026. So as noted, both Township Management, Police Department Command Staff, and Bargaining Unit personnel are in agreement that the MOU has been effective and has benefited the Police Department in the area of recruitment to date. So I'd seek a motion to approve this agreement.
Very good, Tom. Thank you. Just wanted to ask Interim Chief Brown if you had any comment on this particular.
I actually do. I appreciate this initiative. The recruitment initiative that was instituted here has actually benefited us. In our past 2 hiring processes, we were able to get officers who were experienced with at least 5 years, 2 officers in the last 2 cycles. And they've been very beneficial to the township. Not only do they bring a wealth of knowledge from where their department, where they came from, but they also don't have to be on FTO as much. They pick up on things faster and just a wealth of experience, and we don't have to send them to the academy. So it's been very helpful.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. I certainly do support this. Are there any comments from the board? Is there any success? Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Then item 9B, we have a motion to proceed with capital purchases for the South Whitehall Township Police Department with remaining American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds. And Interim Chief Brown, if you would please present.
Yes, thank you. This is going to be a long one, so bear with me. The police department was initially allocated funds through the American Rescue Plan Act to support the purchase of and implementation of body-worn cameras and in-car systems as part of our ongoing efforts to enhance transparency, accountability, and safety. These funds were designated specifically for the body-worn camera and in-car camera systems. Thanks to Township Manager Petrucci and the rest of the command staff, we were able to secure several external grants for body-worn cameras and in-car camera systems, and the department has successfully funded the majority of this project without using the full ARPA allocation. As a result, the remaining ARPA funds that were initially intended for this purpose but are now available for other departmental needs. The police department is requesting the allocation of the remaining ARPA funds for the following purposes. Project 1, we're requesting to purchase police radios and a radio maintenance plan from Tactical Public Safety. As the board is aware, Lehigh County is expected to switch to a new radio system in 2025 or early 2026. Almost all of our current mobile in-car radios will not be compatible with the new system. With the approval of this purchase, the police department would not require any additional funds from South Whitehall Township and would be prepared for the radio upgrade. This purchase would also provide a radio maintenance plan to support all the police department's mobile and portable radios. The plan includes hardware as well as software upgrades for the duration of the plan, which are critical for operational use. We've had our handhelds for several years now. They're going to need to be upgraded before we can move to the system as well. Tactical Public Safety was awarded the contract for Lehigh County's project and has guaranteed the lowest possible cost for the L3 Harris radios based off of Lehigh County contract pricing. The police department is looking to purchase the following radios with installation included: 7 L3 Harris mobile high-tier single control head, single key XG75 radios, 25 L3 Harris mobile high-tier single control head multi-key XL85 radios, 1 L3 Harris CS7000 with 9 tone remotes and 2 remote control heads, and the Tactical Public Safety mobile and portable basic maintenance plan for 53 L3 Harris mobiles, 48 L3 Harris portables, and 1 L3 Harris CS7000 for a total cost of $221,465.50. Moving on to Project 2, we are requesting to purchase 18 patrol PC computer systems, which we utilize in all of our patrol vehicles. The purchase includes a Rhino Tab M3 Ultra Rugged Portable MDT, Rhino Tab Dock R3 keyboard and printer. Our patrol fleet currently utilizes patrol PC computers and is currently comprised of first generation and second generation computers. The whole fleet is due for an upgrade as it is a weekly issue with one computer or another due to the age of the computers. Having all new patrol PCs will ensure our officers are able to perform their duties efficiently and to the highest standards. Patrol PCs will be purchased from Advanced Electrical Design Incorporated, using CoStar pricing for a cost of $115,761.31. Our third project, we will be requesting to purchase 15 Dell Mobile Precision Workstation 3591s, 4 Dell Mobile Precision Workstation 5690s, 3 Optiplex Small Form Factor 720s, 19 Dell Thunderbolt docks, 6 Dell 24-inch monitors, and 6 Dell Monitor Slim soundbars. To ease the burden on the township's IT budget, the police department has offered to utilize ARPA funds to purchase these 23 computers and accessories, which were all slated for replacement in 2025. The computers were purchased from Ameriplex, which was formerly SSI, with CoStar's pricing for a cost of $49,718.06. Our fourth project we are requesting to purchase is the start of a new taser, our less lethal CEW through Axon. The department currently utilizes the Taser 7, and the 5-year maintenance program ended in December 31st, 2023. With the end of the program, the department is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the current tasers. The department is also responsible for purchasing all the required items to keep the program operational, which includes new cartridges and batteries. With the purchase of a new 5-year taser program, the department will be supplied with the all-new Taser CEWs, along with all traditional items needed for the next 5 years. The taser program is a critical part of the South Whitehall Township Police Department and provides a less lethal tool on every one of our officers' belts. The department is requesting to purchase the new Taser 10 bundle, which will include all new devices, holsters, cartridges, training, and support, which will cover the department until January 2030. Total cost of the Taser 10 bundle is $220,119.40, which would be broken down over 5 years. The first payment would be $44,124.08, which will be paid utilizing the ARPA funds. The other 4 payments will have to be projected for inclusion in our budget for the next 4 years, starting in 2026, at a cost of $43,998.83 each year. And our last project, we're requesting to purchase 2024 Chevy Tahoe. As part of the department's fleet plan, we are requesting to add a new vehicle as a supervisor vehicle. Currently, we have 2 sergeants who are K-9 handlers, have take-home cars. One K-9 is retiring shortly, another plans on retiring next year. So this would be essential so that we can include another supervisor vehicle so that the vehicles aren't running 24 hours a day. We typically have 2 officers assigned to each vehicle on opposing shifts. With this upcoming retirement of the K-9s, the sergeant will require a new vehicle to meet the duties and operational needs. The requested vehicle will provide the necessary space and functionality for supervising staff for responding to incidents. The vehicle aligns with the department's fleet replacement plan schedule and will ensure continuing efficiency in supervisory and patrol functions. Whitmore Auto Group still has 2024 Chevy Tahoes available for purchase. That's who we purchased our 4 vehicles for this year through. The total cost with the upfitting for this vehicle with CoStar's pricing is $76,720.93. Police Department is committed to effectively utilizing the remaining ARPA funds to address the other crucial needs within the department. We are requesting the reallocation of remaining ARPA funds for these newly requested above described capital expenditures. The approval or use of the project is outlined above, and the related transfers would have to be approved via motion of the Board of Commissioners. So we would also be requesting for the transfer of the funds from the body-worn cameras into different categories on line items. Specifically, we'd ask for a transfer of $221,465.50 from the body-worn camera and in-car systems transferred to major machinery and equipment on the capital side. For the PC replacement, both for the in-car and for the Dell computers, transfer $162,333.94 from the body-worn in-car camera line to and an additional $3,145.43 from the interest earned from the ARPA funds to the computer capital line. And for the Taser 10 program, transfer $27,347.19 from the body-worn cameras into in-car systems into the capital funds for weapons. Also note that there are $776.89 of the general fund from our weapons and ammunition line that will be utilized for this purchase as well to get to the total of $44,124.08. And lastly, transfer $37,517.14 from the body-worn camera and in-car systems to the capital line for vehicles. We would also be utilizing $39,203.79 of the capital fund that we had for vehicles for this year for this purchase to get to $76,720.93.
Thank you, Interim Chief Brown, for preparing and presenting. This is an awful lot of work. Clearly, that was put into certainly preparing this memo for presentation, but also identifying the needs within the department for the equipment that you've outlined and presented to us. So I want to thank you and your staff for presenting. I certainly do support this motion. And I guess my only question would be, there's an awful lot of new equipment coming in. Does it take care of the needs that you feel are identified in the department at this current time?
Yes, I do believe so. We've taken a lot of thought and consideration into what we could use this money for needs within the near future. And I think this plan encompasses that need.
Very good. Thank you. I'll open up to the board if there are questions.
I just have one comment. Steve, I want to thank you and Tom and man staff, everyone involved, and any township personnel that have been involved in determining where these ARPA funds are going to go over the past few years. I think it's been interesting to see how various municipalities and entities have used the funds. I think far too often a lot of entities make the mistake of taking these one-time injections of capital and spending them on continuing operating expenses, which you all know how that ends, or not encumbering the funds and then losing them. But really, what you guys have done in terms of ensuring that we really get the most out of these funds, that we get the proper equipment for our officers. It's going to serve them for years to come. Certainly helps with our budget every year in years to come. So I really want to thank you all for using this money so wisely and judiciously, and certainly handled it well. Thank you to everyone involved.
Any other comments?
So looking at these numbers under action requested, so the way I look at it is you're taking some of the funds that are in your budget and adding ARPA funds to get more bang for your buck is a safe way to say it? It looks like
So
there's-
basically, we budgeted a higher amount for the body cameras than we actually spent, and due to two factors. We went with a shorter term, and we went with a provider that had a lower price point. And we also obtained $300,000 in grant funding.
So-
400,000 actually.
Right, so so all these transfer from these body worn cameras is the money you saved from that project?
That project primarily, yes.
So just one question about the radio numbers. 53 Harris mobiles. We don't have 53 cars.
No, the way our cars are set up right now is we have one radio, which is our Lehigh County radio, and we also have the P25 for the Allentown, so we can monitor what's going on in Allentown. So we have two radios in the car. That's what we were looking to gear towards our same model here, where we can have our county dispatch on one and Allentown on the other. That way we can monitor it both together instead of having one cut over the other.
Okay. I take it the 48 portables, everybody gets one and you have a couple spares then.
That's correct.
All right. The taser, right? I know you spend it out over 5 years. I mean, that means there's going to be hits to your budget in the next 4 years. Would it make sense just to use money now to buy it all in 1 year so it's not hitting your budget down the road?
I'm basing it off of how we did it before. We had a 5-year plan with the Taser 7. It worked out pretty well. That way we're not spending it all at once. And we can come up, it gives us more time to come up with a plan, see how efficient it is over the 5 years.
And the 4 vehicles you said in this year's budget, is this vehicle going to be a 5th vehicle for this year, or is this going to pay for one of the 4 that you're getting?
This would be a 5th. It would be in addition to the fleet for the need of another supervisor piece.
So are we adding to the fleet, or are you retiring a vehicle?
This would actually be adding one to the fleet for another supervisor car.
Well, I'm not, I I don't think we need to add to the fleet, but especially when we're retiring two K-9 vehicles. Just my concern, I just don't feel like we need to expand the fleet. Is my only comment on that one.
I'm just, our fleet plan currently is set up that way, that we have 8 sergeants in patrol. 2 of them had take-home K-9 cars. So the other 3 were sharing the other 6 were sharing the 3 vehicles. So the 4th vehicle would be for the next 2 sergeants who were K-9s, be able to have the same fleet plan where only 2 people are operating that car.
So 2 were take-home cars because they had the K-9s, right?
That's correct.
So they're not going to have the K-9s anymore, so they won't need take-home cars.
Correct.
So then those 2 could share 1, right? So if you have 2 take-homes, they don't need take-homes. They only have, then those 2 can share one vehicle, right?
They would be sharing 1 vehicle, yes.
So we're getting a new vehicle. We have 3 now. Patrol supervisors, right? We have 3 vehicles plus 2 take-home. We're getting this new one to replace the K-9 vehicles?
No, we'd be getting a new one to add another supervisor car to the fleet. While keeping the K-9 cars for the future K-9 program.
So there'll be 4 to be shared by 8
Correct.
of the command center.
With the two, you'll have 6. You have 3 now, 2 K-9s, that's 5, and this is 6.
Right, but the 1 K-9 is going to be retiring. The next one's retiring next year. It'd be
Right.
projecting for the 8 sergeants to go back in patrol.
And the 2 K-9 vehicles will be
The
utilized.
2 K-9 vehicles will be utilized by a replacement K-9 officer and the next K-9 officer that comes through.
Will be 2 K-9s within the next year, because as they retire, we're replenishing.
Yes, we are hoping to
So-
retire them, or we are hoping to replace them, yes.
Yeah, so with the 2 that,
So the 2 super sergeants vehicles now will go to patrol guys who become K-9 people, K-9 officers?
Yes, 2 officers from patrol would hopefully become K-9 officers.
Okay,
And they would have those 2 cars as take-home cars.
all right, okay. I see.
Any other questions, Commissioner Peisel?
No.
I was just curious with the changeover of all these new radios coming in, what happens to all the old portables and radios that?
We'd have to look at that option when it comes. A lot of times we can trace them in, but typically you have to find somebody who wants to go to that program, that Motorola. But yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So potentially they could be sold on municipal bid, and then the funds the township may receive end up back in the
Potentially,
police department fund to be utilized for other needs.
that's correct.
Okay, very good.
And what we've been doing when we sell assets on municipal bid, we've been putting it into the capital reserve fund,
Okay,
which has been a change over the last couple of years.
very good. Any other commissioner comments?
Member of the public, or I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no more commissioner comments. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? You need to come up to the microphone. The people online aren't able to hear.
Jeff Kelly, South Whitehall Emergency Management Coordinator. You're going to get 48 new portables?
No, we're keeping our.
You're keeping, I was going to say,
Correct,
you're going
yes.
to, I thought you were going to, I was going to say, well,
No,
geez, I don't have to spend any money.
No, we're keeping our portables. They just need to be upgraded with the newest software in order to.
And then you're going to get rid of your older Harris mobiles? The ones you had in the city of Allentown, or are you keeping them?
We are keeping them in the cars.
Okay.
Those are the XG75s.
Are you going to keep the
So we're going to keep
XG75s?
the
Perfect. All right.
XG75.
I just wanted to take any of your scraps. All right, thank you.
I'll let you know.
Recycle. Any Any other public comment from anyone here presently? Is there anyone online with a comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with capital purchases for the South Whitehall Township Police Department with remaining ARPA funds, including the fund transfers that were read into the record?
So.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. And item 8C, we have a motion to proceed with the upfitting of 2 canine police vehicles. And Interim Chief Brown, if you'd please present.
Yes, thank you. Police Department is requesting to proceed with the upfitting of 2 fleet vehicles to be used as canine handler vehicles. These vehicles are currently newer frontline vehicles that were projected to be replaced with the 2024 vehicle order when they are delivered. The current canine vehicles are 2 of the oldest in the fleet and need to be replaced. 2 quotes were obtained from KML with CoStar's pricing for the upfitting of a 2021 Ford Interceptor SUV with the necessary equipment and customization for a canine insert, including alarms and safety features. The upfitting will incorporate the latest technology to ensure the safety of the canine in the vehicle. Cost of one upfitting is $12,480.47 for a total of $24,960.94 for both. The upfitting will include a custom canine compartment insert designed to provide a safe and secure area for the canine with proper ventilation, temperature control, and ease of access for the officer. A temperature monitoring system. This advanced system ensures the dog's safety by alerting the handler if the internal temperature of the vehicle becomes unsafe. An alarm system includes emergency temperature alerts and notifications to both the officer and supervisor in case any potential issues. And safety and security features reinforce doors and barriers to prevent any accidents and harm to the canine and to minimize distraction for the handler during patrol. With the upfitting of these 2 vehicles, the department will not only be able to replace the oldest vehicles in fleet, but also increase the safety and effectiveness of the canine unit. The new vehicles will be reduced operational costs over time as they transition to these newer vehicles will result in fewer repairs and more reliable service. We're respectfully requesting the approval to upfit these vehicles for use of the canine units with KML Transport for a total of $24,960.94. This is CoStar's pricing, and this project was projected as a capital request for 2024.
Very good, thank you. I guess my question was back to the ARPA funds. They're all the funds will be exhausted, correct, with all of the purchases that we approved just previously?
That's correct.
Correct, so this funding is coming from the capital request? From this
Yes,
year's budget.
from
Very
last
good.
year. For this year, sorry.
Very good. Are there any commissioner questions? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to proceed with said motion?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item 9D, motion to approve the authorization of capital project for digital message board sign conversion and replacement faces for Township Municipal Complex monument signs. And Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. The township is liable for a general obligation bond dated November 23rd, 2021 for a principal amount of $10,350,000. So the funds were primarily utilized for the renovation of the township building and campus, the rehabilitation of Weir's Dam, and a recent project to construct a sidewalk along the frontage of the township municipal building and campus. So the current balance of the bond sinking fund is $294,124.80. The municipal sidewalk project was encumbered by way of purchase order 2024-0199 in the total amount of $209,827.50. $37,510.59 in engineering has also been spent to date for the sidewalk project, thereby leaving a total of $46,786.71 available for additional expenditures. So the sidewalk project is anticipated to come under budget due to the fact that a portion of the sidewalk, approximately 100 linear feet, on Walbert Avenue heading towards SR 309, was deleted as the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation will be completing the remainder of the sidewalk connection as part of the upcoming SR 309 betterment project. So the estimated amount of the credit is somewhere between $13,000 and $15,000. The 2021 general obligation bond was required to be primarily spent within a 3-year time period. Should the township expend all of the funds on or before March of 2025, PFM Asset Management LLC will need to only issue one final arbitrage rebate report to close out the township's administrative compliance requirements with respect to the 2021 general obligation bond. The arbitrage rebate compliance report has been completed for the 2021 bonds as of 3/31/2023. No liability has accrued, no payments are required, and the township does not need to file anything with the Internal Revenue Service. So a CoStar's compliant price quotation is enclosed to upgrade the township's current main monument sign from a static sign to a digital message board sign. Additionally, it is recommended to remove the Township Public Works and combine police sign at the other side of the complex near the library and replace it with a Township Public Works sign only to aid with the flow of traffic within the municipal complex area and to guide visitors to the correct areas. The Township Administration recommends the selection of option 2 in the enclosed proposal, which shows a monument sign with a digital message board option in the total amount of $43,620.54. So the purpose of the digital message board would be used to advertise special events, meetings, and other timely notifications for the benefit of township residents and business owners, as well as visitors to the area. So should the township approve the project, any remaining funds after the project is encumbered must be spent in a timely manner. So township management will present additional options to encumber any remaining funds in the near future after the sidewalk project is completely closed out. I'd seek a motion to approve the capital expenditures out of the sinking bond fund in accordance with the CoStar's price quotation provided by Bar 2 Signs for the digital message board. So it was $41,794.27. And then the replacement faces were $1,826.27. So as mentioned, the total is $43,620.54. Similar to the ARPA funds, a motion is requested to conduct a budget transfer for the following line items. So we'd have to transfer $43,620.54 from the township building sidewalks line item, which would be a deduction of $294,124.80 to $250,504.26. And then we would need to transfer $43,620.54 to the campus renovation line item, which would be a credit from $40,540 to $84,160.54. So I'd seek a motion to accomplish those items.
Very good, Tom. Thank you for presenting. Dave, is it possible to put the sign picture up on the screen that was in the packet? The sidewalk project.
Next one. Next one, Dave.
There we go.
There it is.
So the sidewalk project, I just wanted to compliment administration and Herb, all involved with the planning of it, the execution of it. It really looks wonderful and will go a great way to help connectivity for our residents. And I am very grateful for this digital sign. I think it will go a long way to continue to inform our residents and visitors to meetings and events. And I think it's beautiful. So I'm certainly in support of this. Open up to the board if there's comments or questions.
I am in support of this project. I just was wondering if there's any flexibility as for the design element. Are you suggesting that we do go with the curved top for the sign?
That's the recommendation, yes.
Is there any reason why, like aesthetic wise?
Thought it looked nicer.
Preference? Okay, all right.
I realize that's very subjective.
It is, and if it's okay, I'd like to add my 2 cents in. I'm only one voice, but I was looking at both of them, and I'm looking at the curved top, and to me, it looks a little more whimsical, a little more fun. It looks like a park. I'm looking at the square, the completely square one, and it has cleaner lines. It is for a government building, and to me, the cleaner lines convey a sense of order, and it's a little more timeless, a little more classic. It doesn't look as park-like, but just for that classic, timeless. This is our government, and this sense of order that it conveys. That would be my preference, but like I said, I'm only one voice, and I'll go along with whatever anyone, what's the preference of the board.
I don't mean to be that person, but I kind of like the rounded ones. I thought the square was like cold and just, the rounded gave a little bit of.
To add on to that, not the debate I thought we would have.
Sorry.
No,
It's okay.
I prefer the rounded as well. That's all I have to say.
Is there somewhere we could meet in the middle?
Pentagon.
They're a little less rounded.
A little less rounded. Seriously.
I can see both viewpoints. I do think it is a little more readable if someone's just driving by and doesn't realize that this is the township building, but I do like both.
I mean, we could make it a little less rounded. Pretty sure. I understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, it could be. We could slightly adjust it so it's not as pronounced. The curve. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. Good comments, everybody. Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
Square or rounded? Nobody?
No.
Square, rounded? No?
Anyone online? Oh, they like square.
Yes.
All right. If there's no other comment, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Motion.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you to staff for bringing this forward. It's a great idea. Agenda item 9E, we have a motion to proceed with release of security for Ridge Farms Phase 1A Improvement Security Release Certification Number 9. I'll ask Director of Community Development, Dave Manhart, to please present.
So this is related to the Ridge Farm Phase 1A project at the corner of Cedar Crest and Walbert Avenue. It's the St. Luke's building and all of the infrastructure related to that. This is security release number 9. So we've had a few of these come through. The original security amount was $3,570,877.33. This request is reducing the amount that's left by $114,643.10.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Before I open it up to commissioner comments, I will ask our township engineer, Tony Tallarida, if you have any engineering comments for us.
This is mainly for some cleanup around the outside. They did some landscaping, the pathways, some work like that. We're comfortable with the amount released and with what's remaining.
Very good. Are there any commissioner comments on this agenda item? Is there any public comment? Anyone online? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Then item 9F, we have a motion to proceed with release of security for 4815 Crackersport Road. And Dave, if you'd present.
So this is for a security release for 4815 Crackersport. The plan or the building addition was a 13,000 square foot addition. It was originally approved by the Board of Commissioners in 2021. This is another project that is moving along and going into maintenance. So they've completed all their improvements. The township engineer provided their final punch list. All the items were met. So now it's a reduction to get it to the maintenance.
Very good. Thank you, Dave. Again, I'll ask our township engineer, Tony Tallarida, if there's any comments.
Again, we're comfortable with this. It's going into an 18-month maintenance period. In about 14 months, we'll be out there to see if there's any changes, but we're comfortable with the amount remaining.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any commissioner comments? Any public comment? Any online? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Then item 9G, we have a motion to approve a request for waiver on street moratorium for 1962 Maria Lane, Allentown. I'll ask our Director of Township Operations, Herb Bender, to please present.
Thank you. In front of you this evening is a moratorium request for 1962 Maria Lane. In the packet, I have attached a map outlined in red of the property that is requesting the moratorium to be lifted. I have met with the developer to go over the options. Just so everyone is aware, Maria Lane was paved on 5/22/2023 last year, so it is freshly paved. After speaking with the developer of that property, he is willing to make it a condition that he will restore the street from curb to curb and have the setbacks of his cuts to make the road look like one solid road again.
Very good. Thank you, Herb. I'll open up to the board if there's any comments or questions.
Herb, I have a quick question. So when he does the repaving, that will be according to township standards?
He is willing to go more than what he'll meet the township standard spec, but the excavating ordinance on a road is what this technically would cover would just be restoring what he dug out. He would not be required to go curb to curb, but he understands because of the moratorium, he is willing to make that a condition. So it is more favorable for the board to lift the moratorium for him.
Moratorium just for that
Thank you.
address.
Yes.
Any other comments from the board? Any public comment? Any online? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Herb. Agenda item 10, correspondence and information, boards and commissions. Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. So upcoming meetings and events with details to be posted on the township website are as follows. So Monday, November 25th, 5:30 p.m. is the Landscape and Shade Tree Commission meeting. Monday, November 25th, 6 p.m. is the Environmental Advisory Council meeting. On Thursday, November 28th and Friday, November 28th, the offices are closed in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. Monday, December 2nd, 7 p.m. is the Public Safety Commission meeting, and Wednesday, December 4th, 7 p.m. is the Board of Commissioners meeting. Also, on Saturday, December 7th is the tree and bridge lighting from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. And just as a reminder, all of our township meetings and announcements are available on the township website. Agenda item 11 is direction and discussion, Ridge Farm proposed zoning text amendment. I'll ask our Director of Community Development, David Manhart, to please present.
Yes, so this is a follow-up to a presentation or a previous direction and discussion item from the Kate Walbert, the developers of Ridge Farm. The proposal, the approval includes two 5,000 square foot restaurant pads, which is what the maximum required by the overlay zone. They're requesting consideration for a text amendment to change that to 8,000 square feet. They include some conceptual plans, some layouts. At the last meeting, there were concerns expressed by the board. We worked with the engineer on the project to kind of direct the impact study that's included in the packets. Everything that he mentioned in the impact study seems to be in line, and we agree with. The issue that we have in the planning department, community development, and looking at this from a planning perspective is, as the plan that they presented, the proposed plan, it doesn't meet the intent of the T&D ordinance. There are some things that it's lacking in some pedestrian orientation, which is a big focus for the T&D overlay. So there are some things that would need to be tweaked with regards to the layout. I think some of the concerns that we have from the planning perspective can be addressed in a text amendment. We would have to be very careful of what we do with any text amendments. Additionally, we received some additional information from our D&D consultant this afternoon that has yet to be shared with the applicant. But there may be some information in there that might provide some more information if the board decides that they would like to get more information. The applicant is here to answer questions or provide any insight.
Thank you. Before the board asks questions, I just wanted to clarify the statement that you made earlier. This is consideration for a text amendment. And can you just help us understand the process that got us here? So there was a conditional use.
Yes, so the original approval went through a conditional use approval for the entire project. So both sides of Cedar Crest. Then they go through land development for each individual phase. They've had phase 1A, which included the St. Luke's building and associated infrastructure improvements. Phase B, 1B was approved. That was on the opposite side of Cedar Crest. That was some duplexes and then towns over flats, so essentially apartment buildings. They've recently received approvals for phase 1C, which is off of Buckman. It's kind of on the other side of the project. That's for a series of duplexes. So they've been moving along in phases. As they kind of come up, they're proceeding with the phasing plan. It's important to note that a text amendment has to go through its own process. So there will be a text amendment process. It's an update to the ordinance. So it has to follow the prescribed procedure for that. Includes planning commission meetings, BOC meetings, public notice. And that gets them to the opportunity to use that text amendment in any proposed land development. So it would still be a long process, 6 months to a year for the text amendment, 6 months to a year for any land development. So this initial consideration is very early in the process. There could be a lot of work to move this forward should the board decide, but it will also go through a public process. So it's not like you would be approving that concept plan. It's just considering that text amendment.
And just to follow up, you shared that information was received just today from the design consultant. So there's more study and work that the CD department has in front of it based on the information.
Yeah, and I will share that letter with the applicant. There was the T&D consultant recommended some additional study with regards to restaurant size on more recent T&Ds. So the ordinance was passed in 2010-ish, 11. So it's been a long time. Times change. So I think having that understanding of current T&D restaurant pads and kind of getting that idea of what other municipalities are doing currently to see if it warrants this update. And I'll share that with the applicant, and I'm sure they'll be on board to look at some of that.
Very good, thank you. Did the applicant have any comments for the board? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Jason Engelhardt with Langen Engineering, the site engineer on the Ridge Farm project. So we were here early September to introduce this idea initially to you. And Dave covered a lot of it, but there are there were approved 2 5,000 square foot restaurant pads kind of at the entry adjacent to the St. Luke's building. And those pads have been marketed for the last 2+ years. And what was determined through that process is that there is a need or a market for smaller restaurant uses, as well as, and more importantly, for a sit-down restaurant to be larger than that, for those parties that have come forward, some of which we've discussed with the township, for there to be interest. So there hasn't been interest in the pads as they are laid out. So the plan, and again, it's up on the screen now, that shows the 2 5,000 square foot restaurant pads. The conditional use process, that was always the use. The use isn't changing here. So what we're asking is to allow for one restaurant, instead of 2 5,000 square foot restaurants, one restaurant at 8,000 square feet. The concept plan proposes an open space on the opposite side of that. And I know I've spoken to your planning department about how we make a cohesive streetscape, how we consider the use of that open space. So it's not just an open green space, but something that would be functional. So at this point, that's just a concept, right? What we're here asking for now is consideration of allowing us to work with staff on a text amendment that would allow this. But it wouldn't be a change in any kind of change of use. This is just a change in the square footage limitation and actually a reduction of the overall restaurant square footage slightly. When we spoke back in September, I know there was a bit of a concern. Are we providing enough diversity of restaurants within this portion of the development? And one thing we didn't touch on at that time was there are 2 mixed-use buildings. They're also along that same roadway, both of which have allotted for 3,600 square feet of inline restaurant space. So effectively, we have room for at least 3 and have planned for at least 3 restaurant spaces here. So the other piece of this that was discussed was that we were asked to put together an impact study. So that's in your packet. That impact study kind of touches on kind of 7 different elements. The first was restaurant options, which I just mentioned there. There are a couple that are inline areas that might even be broken up into separate spaces, but there's at least 3 opportunities for restaurants there. We looked at the traffic impact of going from 2 5,000 square foot spaces down to 1 8,000 in the open space. That's obviously reduce it by 414 less trips. Surface area and stormwater management, there'd be basically a de minimis change there, 2,600 square feet of less impervious area. So it would reduce the amount of stormwater impact. We touched on additional open space. So there's roughly 9,200 square feet of additional open space, which again, we can closely look at with Tom Comita's office, with your staff, and how we best program that space and make it as functional and active as possible. We looked at the utility impacts. It reduces the amount of water and sewer by about 1,200 gallons a day, which is relatively small relative to the scale of the project, but still a reduction. In this particular case, and I think we touched on it, it's in the packet, the anticipated tenant for the space is PJ Whalehans. In fact, the CEO of PJ's is here with us tonight. So if the board's interested, she'd be happy to come up. Her name is Jessica Breslow, and she'd like to at least discuss why she's interested in this site, interested in expanding the presence in the township, and why the building needs to be the size it needs to be. I will touch on it from an architecture point of view. The advantage here is PJ's is going to be very flexible in their architecture. It can complement the existing St. Luke's building. You know, if you have 2 5,000 square foot buildings adjacent to each other, that architecture might be competitive with each other. because you're going to have to distinguish one from the other. And in this case, the expectation it's going to complement the St. Luke's building, look very cohesive. And they have a lot of flexibility in what they can do with a new building there. So with that, it may make sense if the board's willing to ask Jessica to briefly address you, if that's all right.
But before we do that, I did just have a question for you regarding the overall project. You mentioned the restaurants in the mixed-use buildings. Which phase will that be accomplished in?
So it's identified on this plan as future phase 1B. So B, 1B, yes.
Yeah,
We already
1B,
have 1B with
1B's on the other side of the
Yeah, no, yeah, I guess we renamed the phase. I apologize. They renamed the phases, right? So,
is there an
so it's basically the extension up the hill. So immediately behind Stonewall Square. So the infrastructure is really in place for that phase. It's just when the market demand is there for that to continue.
So is there an anticipated timeline that you have at this point for those buildings?
Excuse me, it's Rick Coes with K Builders. How are you?
Good evening.
Just to give you a little more feedback on the phasing, we're trying to get the Towns Over Flats started April, May of next year, along with the twins or the duplexes on the west side. So, and then the mixed use building, probably July, August, or in the, early fall is about when we'd start the first mixed use building.
And that plan has not been approved by the township yet?
It's approved as a preliminary plan, but we didn't submit the final. For that.
Okay.
But all the other permitting for that piece of it, the NPDS, all that's all in place.
Understood. So the 1B and the 1C that are approved, you're expecting sometime next year?
The first of the two will start early, spring, April timeframe. That'll be the twin homes phase, which I think is called 1C, right?
By the cemetery.
And then May, June will be the Towns Over Flats, which is 1B. And then we're going to start a mixed use building right after that, probably call it fall.
Very good. Thank you.
A quick question as well before you go
Yeah,
anywhere.
of course.
I'm hoping I heard this correctly, but you said if you were to make that one 5,000 square foot pad into open space, you would make that open space functional. What ideas do you have for that open space?
For the initial concept plan, we put placeholders basically. So we have a trail, we have seating. But I think in conversations with Dave, and I'm sure with Mr. Comita, we'll look at other alternatives there. We could throw out ideas as all of us together. I expect to probably work with the Planning Commission on that as well, to see what ideas they have. But I realize it's integral to the streetscape. And we want it to make sense and be useful for the township, right? And we have some other elements on the opposite open space, right? We have that plaza area that has different types of seating there, as well as, I'm not going to call it an amphitheater, but an area where you could play music, other things that are available there. So we'd want to differentiate it from that while we continue the streetscape.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one additional question that's not PJ Willihan specific. Maybe Mr. Coz, you could best answer this. What are the economic challenges or differences with respect to tenants that you see between 5,000 square foot restaurants and 8,000? From a business perspective, what are you seeing there?
Well, that's a good question. And it's always, again, so market analysis. We've been marketing it for, over a year and a half now, soft marketing, right? But everybody knows about it. We haven't had much luck attracting what I call a full service sit down restaurant in that size range. Okay. You can always fill any building, right, with maybe a subpar tenant or, but I think it's, we're not having much luck filling those spaces is the answer to the question. And as you get, and that's why we wanted, again, it doesn't have to be specific to PJs. We wanted you to hear from a operator in that size range that they can explain some of their financial challenges. So that's why we thought you'd benefit from hearing directly from the horse's mouth. But it's been a challenge to get the pads leased at this size.
Any
Just for those two pad sites.
So the text amendment would be for the overlay zone. And there are other areas in the township that are part of that overlay zone. And that's one of the concerns we have. But I'm confident that we can structure the language and the criteria to make it essentially only this. And there's some other things at play that may have it only apply to this area. So it would be a text amendment to the residential cluster overlay provisions.
So there's more internal work that you foresee to have an understanding of the impact of this across uses?
I think it's more of a strategy, how to come up with the strategy to limit the areas that can happen that have, and I think the way we would go is the capacity, traffic capacity. We have Walbert and Cedar Crest, which are big roads. Some of the other residential cluster overlay don't have that larger road, and that's some of the other things we'll be talking about with you in the near future is our functional classification and our character classification. So there may be some things that are suitable on different classes of roads, like a larger restaurant pad or a smaller restaurant pad. So that's kind of how I think strategically we could make it happen, allow it to happen here and not in other residential cluster areas.
Thank you.
That would be my concern, is that if we do this and it affects the overlay, then we end up putting a bigger restaurant someplace that's not feasible, shall we say.
I totally agree with you.
If you're looking for just some specific feedback, of course, we can hear from PJs directly, but I don't think my feedback would change either way. I think it's important for us anyway to continue to take it under advisement, but to continue the conversation between you and staff and really explore, both in terms of a text amendment and even under the current overlay, what the extent of the options are, additional options, beyond what you're proposing, including what you're proposing. I'm certainly open to those conversations continuing before we provide specific direction on a text amendment, specific proposed text amendment. I don't know if you believe that would be an interesting approach, but just is there more work to be done on your end between you and the applicant to?
I think some of the
explore new options for this.
Yes, I think so. There were some items that were brought up in the T&D consultant's letter that are worth exploring with the applicant. And I apologize, we got that this afternoon, so we'll send that over. And I think between that and strategizing, I think we can have a better plan forward of moving it forward. I think some of the hesitancy is, what is the path forward? If you were decided to move this forward, what is that path forward? What's it going to look like? What are the impacts to the other zones? So those are things that I think we can come up with that strategy on how we can do that and explore alternatives that were kind of brought up in that letter or other alternatives. I think it's worth pursuing with the applicant.
Because again, my concern would be if we were to just explore one path as proposed, it's a long process.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned a year and then perhaps an additional year if there's further options to be explored. Maybe wouldn't require as much legwork on the part of the township, but perhaps still get a beneficial result. I don't know if you're open to that, but that's something I would suggest for everyone's benefit in terms of time.
Sure. I think we're open to whatever option the township is willing to consider. I think all we're really asking at this point is the opportunity to work with staff. Right? We've this second meeting we've kind of addressed some of the impacts. We think they're out there. We're certainly open to other options to get us to the same place or near the same place. So, if possibly we can come back after working with staff and then present something in concept that I think would be beneficial, right?
Well, I would encourage you to continue discussing with the township to continue to gather information to give better, clearer direction to this board as far as impact township wide. We're talking about this one development, but it's other impacts as well. And certainly like more information on the options that you mentioned that the T&D consultant had given you in a letter form today. So I think there's more conversation to be had and more options to be explored for sure. But I'm certainly open to hearing from the CEO. Since you're here, welcome.
Thanks for having me this morning, this afternoon, tonight. It's been a long day. We just want to say how much we love being a part of this township. We've been, I think, a good neighbor and part of the community for better than 30 years. I'd love the opportunity to continue to do that and to partner in even bigger ways moving forward. So again, I'm here to answer any questions, but at the end of the day, we'd love to stay here and continue to be good neighbors.
Thank you. Certainly PJ's is a mainstay in this township. Thank you for that. And this discussion that we're having is really a little bit outside of the particular applicant. It's really got to do with text and zoning.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate your comments tonight, and I encourage the applicant as well as you to continue to work with staff and explore the options that staff has got to lay out for us.
All right.
Only additional question, and this isn't related to the specifically proposed amendment because, again, it may apply to any number of potential tenants. Just a question out of personal curiosity. Is PJ's looking to expand within the township? Would it include combining other locations, closing other locations, or is it just a pure expansion in the number of locations?
That's a good question, and I think it's important to clarify. The locations that exist today are in long-standing leases. There's no intention to consolidate, close. This is a completely new endeavor.
Any other comments from the board?
Yes, that was my question. The word's out there. What are they going to do with Walmart?
I was just there for dinner, and you couldn't get a seat.
I know.
Very good. Is there any public comment?
You have great wings.
No, we'll be there for a very long time.
Very good. Thank you for your presentation, and we look forward to seeing you at a future meeting then.
Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good evening. And Dave, thank you for the information and the presentation to the
You're
board.
welcome.
Very helpful. We have no old business courtesy of the floor. Agenda item 13, again, opportunity for any member of the public to address the board on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone present who'd like to address the board? Is there anyone online? No public comment. Moving on to agenda item 14, I need a motion to authorize payment of invoices and disbursements.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Bless you. We have no executive session. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.